and welcome to Vlogtober Day 10. Today I thought I would take you through some of my favorite media, by which I mean books and films in this case. I wanted to do just books favorites, and then I realized I had just recently made a list of both books and films that I loved, so I figured I would put them together. These are books and films that I've loved for a longer period of time, hence the being in the middle of the month. Basically, media favorites, and I picked 5 books and 5 movies, and I hope you'll enjoy this video. We're going to start off with books, and with that I'm also going to start off with the Penguin classics because they have such pretty covers and I absolutely adore this cover. So I'm just going to start with these. First one is Emma by Jane Austen. As you might know, I am obsessed with Jane Austen. I believe I have now read 5 of her 6 novels. No, I've read 4 out of 6. I've read Emma, Persuasion, Pride and Prejudice, and Sense and Sensibility. So I still have to read Northanger Abbey and Mansfield Park. And then I will have read all her novels. And I also have, laying around here, her little novella, I think you call that, Lady Susan. So I'm also still going to read that. And then I will have read most of her big work, but then there's also sort of tinier works that I might read in future. Anyway, I love Jane Austen, and out of her novels, this remains my favorite. It's just very, I guess, familiar to me. Like, Emma is such, like, my kind of heroine. She's not a heroine, she's an anti-heroine. I believe Jane Austen hated the character of Emma, but I love her because she seems very relatable to me. The other book with a penguin cover that I got today is Jane Eyre, and I read this, I believe, last year. And it was so beautiful. It was also very frustrating because I tend to, once I really get into a book, I tend to really sympathize and really be in the book. So when this story goes downhill, I go downhill with it, and it gets me really riled up. But ultimately I think that's a good thing because it was really well written and I could really, like, oh, I felt it. It was so beautiful. I just loved it so much. The third book is a little bit more heavy, probably, but what I love about this book, Only Ever Yours by Louise is it just paints the picture really well. And I thought it was very harrowing and very interesting to read, and also very painful, as you will see a lot of stuff that you might recognize from daily life, especially if you're a girl at a young age. One of the reviews that is on the cover of this book says that O'Neill writes with a scalpel, and I think that's probably the best explanation there is for what Louise O'Neill does. It's just brilliant. For my 4th book, I chose The Universe vs. Alex Woods by Gavin Extence, which is a book about a very special boy and his friendship with an older man that is also very special. It has sort of a cliffhanger on the back that initially put me off, but ultimately made for a beautiful story, and I really enjoyed this story because it was mostly lighthearted, but ultimately dealt with some very serious stuff. And the 5th is a book that I do not have with me at the moment because I believe I've borrowed it to a friend. It's a very light book. It's called Dash and Lily's Book of Dares, and it's by David Levithan, that you might know from Will Grayson, and Rachel Cohn. And they also wrote a book together called Nick and Norah's Infinite Playlist that I will get to in a moment because I love the movie of that. But Dash and Lily's Book of Dares is basically, I think, some people's, mostly my dream come true scenario, where a girl leaves a note in a book that she loves for someone to find in a bookshop, and Dash is the one to find it, and they start giving each other dares and sort of connecting without ever meeting face to face. It's like a rom-com, but in novel form. I read it right after Only Ever Yours, which was perfect because Only Ever Yours is quite heavy and it leaves you sort of with your stomach in a knot, and it's nice to read something light after that, so I would definitely recommend that combination. Then we move on to movies, and just because I already hinted at it, I will start with Nick and Norah's Infinite Playlist. This is a movie I've seen about 5-6 times now, and it just continues to amaze me. It's also based on the story by David Levithan and Rachel Cohn, and I think their quality as a writing duo is that their books and their stories are just I might be the only one, but it's just a dream come true scenario, and it's just everything you hope for in romance. In this story, two people meet by accident, Nick and Norah, and Norah asks Nick to pretend to be her boyfriend for 5 minutes, and then they end up going around New York City for an entire night together. The feeling that is described in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, with the tunnel and everything, that is pretty much what at least what I felt in this story as well, and I really enjoyed that. I didn't want to add any non-fiction with books, but with movies I decided to do it anyway because I do love documentaries. A documentary that I've seen a lot over the past year or two and that has really impacted my life is Cowspiracy, and you might have heard of this movie. It's about the environmental impact of the cattle industry and animal agriculture business, and I don't know, it just really gets you thinking, and I thought it was very, very interesting to hear all the stuff they had to say. For example, did you know that for 1/4 pound, I believe, burger, it takes 2 months worth of showering. That was just one of the so many facts that were in this movie, and they just sort of overwhelmed me, and they were so impressive. And I thought it was really interesting, so I would definitely recommend that documentary. Other than that, I'm just gonna keep my 3 other favorites in the fiction world, and one of them also relates to the books that I mentioned earlier, because that is Clueless. And Clueless is a movie from the 90s, I believe. It's a modern adaptation of Emma, my favorite book. This movie has Paul Rudd, so if you like Paul Rudd, check it out. It's great. I've seen that more than 5 times. I'm pretty sure I might have seen it 10 times. With movies, I find it quite hard to choose just 5 favorites, but I decided to choose 2 more in different categories. So the first one of those is Le Fabuleux Destin d'Amélie Poulain, which is the long name for Amèlie, which is a French movie, I think, that came out in the zeros with Audrey Tautou. Fun story. When I was little, we had this movie, and I don't know if you've ever seen like the poster of it or the cover of it, but it always sort of scared me, so I hated the movie without ever seeing it when I was little. And then I saw it for the first time, and I was like, quite alright. And then I saw it another time, and it sort of just grew on me every time I saw the movie. And now I love it. It's different, it's very French, and I love France and French, so it's perfect for me. The last movie I wanted to mention today has to be a Disney one, and I've been just going back and forth between Tangled and Zootropolis or Zootopia, and I think ultimately I am gonna go with Zootropolis, not because I've seen that the most, because I've seen Tangled I think 4 times or something like that, and Zootropolis only once. But I thought Zootropolis just really hit the nail on the head. I just thought it was so clever and so well thought out, and I can't wait to see it again. I do love Tangled. Tangled is beautiful, but sometimes you want something with a little bit more substance, and Zootropolis was that for me. So I decided to put that one in, but I also sneakily just mentioned Tangled, so I'm good. Anyway, that was my list of favorites, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye!